Hello, my name is Pinky Ghelani of Pinky TV and welcome to What Women Want Online. This is a show where you'll get to meet incredible people who share stories of hope, resilience and excellence. We are filming at the Social House in Nairobi, Kenya, and these conversations are brought to you by SBM Bank and Safaricom. If you're someone who wants to be a champion in life, then I suggest you stay right here. Achie Ojany-Alai has become a brand name in Kenya. Bill Clinton made it his business to know her name and find out about her children. She has dined with Morgan Freeman. She's also met President Obama in Kisumu, a motivational speaker and a business coach and an all-around trailblazer. Having spent over 23 years as an expatriate in London and the Middle East, by being an account director for global brands like Delta Airlines, Max Factor and Gillette, she's now a county minister in Kisumu. And she's right here with us today. Achie!
Hi!
I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
And it's such a privilege to actually sit down and have a conversation with you. You're an amazing speaker. You have such great stories. I know that I saw you at an SBM function, and you were having. There was something you were talking about, and one thing that I heard you what resonated with me was your conversation that you introduced your parents into your narrative, into your upbringing.
Yes.
So let me give you a little bit of a history. My father was originally from Kisumu.
Oh, right.
Okay, that's my shags.
Okay, that's your shags. Yeah.
And I see a lot of passion when you talk about Kisumu.
Yeah.
You love the city.
Yes.
And obviously your parents have had such an impact on how you grew up. How important, your father is especially, how important is it for fathers to show up for daughters?
Right. Oh, gosh. There is, they say your father is your first love. It's the first member of the opposite sex that you are engaged in. And I know for myself and my siblings that the role our dad played in our lives was riveting. He was Kali, very strict. He was a professor of geography. He was well regarded. He was chairman of banks, KCB, and he was tough, but he also took us to all these museums. We traveled Kenya with him. We used to have very clever conversations. So in our home, the Ojany household, you didn't talk nonsense. You talked things, climate change, when you were 10. You talked about global warming when we were kids. I saw him repeat that cycle with the grandkids. And that's, I think, I've learned this word. There are some people who are sapiosexuals, people who are attracted to people because of the mind.
Brain,
I did not know that word exists. And I hope it's okay to use it on your show.
Absolutely.
And that has remained my attraction to humanity, to men and women, people who engage my mind, because that's what I saw at home.
Yeah.
My mother too, she was Kenya's first CEO under President Moi. She was appointed by the president. And again, she was running what is now Tourism Fund. So I saw a corporate woman who, driven, and their role together, I think made the six of us pretty tough cookies. And we're all very successful in our own fields of discipline.
Absolutely.
But yes, daddy love is real. I encourage it in a huge way at my home now, my married home. And I see that my children also have a very fresh, fun, easy friendship with their dad, which is I think a gift. If a father can be around for their children, children come out strong, solid, self-assured, very centered, very whole. I would say that is the role of a dad.
And do parents play a part in empowering their daughters, especially?
Yes.
Their children, but we want women to feel more empowered. So how important is where does that come in the upbringing?
I think it throughout schooling, for example, they'll be talking to you about your subjects, how you're doing in school, etc., just naturally.
Yes.
And then when you get to the real crunchy years, the last 2 years, let's say, before you're going to uni or college or whatever your space will be, then there's a lot of guidance there that the parents can give. Now, not all parents are as educated as their children.
Right.
But it's just to enable their children to know that even with my parents, I can talk about my school and where I want to go. Should parents limit dreams? No. But they do it automatically. No, I don't think you should study this because I think you're better at this.
Yes.
That is not our call.
Yeah.
I think that parents should step back, and whatever it is the child is telling you, because you've been with that child since birth. If that child is saying, this is where I want to go, let them go there. Because what you find is that they'll follow your path. And then sometimes in the 20s and the 30s, they'll just double back and go back to what it is they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But they'll be doing that with a lot of resentment. So I think parents should play their role. I'm a parent, I've got 2 children, and I listen. I'm listening more. I can tell they are interested in different things. They don't see the world as a problem. The world is there for them. They're on social media all the time. They use gadgets, and so I do more listening. I can encourage a line of thinking.
Yes.
And that's the word, encourage. But I'll tell very quickly, is it resonating? I was talking last year to my son, and he was talking about, I don't know what I want to do in my life. And I said, that's cool, because I didn't know until I finished university.
Yeah.
But then what do you ask? These are the questions. What problem in the world do you want to solve? And then you'll hear children talk about, actually, I'm really concerned about poaching. I don't think countries are doing enough. Or I think that cyberbullying is something I want to get into, and I think we should. That's how you get what they're interested. Not what subjects do you want to study.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, no, I want to play football. And then you won't get it because you're traditional and you think football is, I don't know what. Yeah. So it's to ask, what problem in the world do you think you could solve? Then you'll hear, I want to make sure oceans are cleaned.
Yeah.
Then you'll hear that there's a degree called oceanology. And you're like, okay. So I think parents just do more listening and ask your children, what do you want to solve in the world? What are you seeing that's a pain point? And then somewhere in there, something will come through.
That's really interesting that you say that. I noticed my child, I didn't ask her, but she, the school actually even called me once, and they said, she's in a running for a writing competition.
Right.
And she, they said it's a one-pager, it's not like it's many paragraphs or whatever. And when I read the story, it was about nature. And, they had asked her to write about superhero and villains.
Okay.
So she created 2 sisters. One was someone who was, their alter egos. So they love each other as humans. But when they become superheroes, one becomes a villain. Right. And one becomes, so one is called Nature Girl or something like that. And the other one is Nature Hater. Right. And they
clash and they do what they do.
And, she keeps on talking about, like even with the pandemic, she keeps on saying it's because we've cut all the trees.
So in there,
you can hear what path. She's trying to,
where she feels that her DNA resonates.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's nice that we should listen. Ask and listen.
Ask and listen.
Your favorite quote is, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." So while we're talking about childhood, or you in your younger years, what made you resonate with this quote and become that person?
Yeah, I think it was predictability was just boring to me. So you're a child, you're in school, and I went to Consolata Primary School, and there were so many options for clubs. So I think there I realized I can do this club this term, and if I don't like it, I'll go to that other one.
Yeah.
There was that. Then there was, again, back to the parents, who I would ask, Dad, you're a professor, why are you chairman for a bank? And he would say, because being predictable is boring. Achie, you make sure you do things that open your floor and open your world. So I think it stayed with me, and I've taken paths that are lesser traveled, and I find that I am happier in those spaces. I also know that I wanted to travel from a very young age because that's how we grew up. My father would travel as a professor to different parts of the world. He's a geographer, climb Mount Kenya and do all sorts of things. And then Mom was in tourism, so again, would have to travel. So we grew up with traveling parents. So nothing was predictable. And they would next week I'm going to Argentina, and be like, oh wow, what happens in Argentina? It doesn't stop there. Dad would get the encyclopedia, and then you have to read with him. And so I think unpredictable works best for me. That there shouldn't just be, I don't know how to just do this thing.
It shouldn't be just one line.
No, it is too boring.
I agree.
Makes it a bit difficult for my husband at home, but yeah, unpredictable is boring. For me it is.
No, but that's, it's amazing because you are able to see what drives you now, you know, sort of get into the mind.
You can
of
get into that mind. And you asked the quote, and that was the quote that I remember when I first saw it. I said, yeah, I think this is me.
Yeah.
When my dad died, we put it on his funeral program.
Okay.
That quotation, because it really was
him.
Yeah. And all the kids, when I said, I think we should put this quote on, they're like,
no doubt.
No doubt. So yes, the path less trodden is much more exciting to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I encourage, you know, anybody that I interact with. I do a lot of mentoring and coaching as well.
Yes.
Even as a leader in government, I talk about that. Just please don't be predictable. But there are some people who need predictability, so that's okay too.
I think human beings like, you know, we like that routine.
Yeah.
Again, you know, just going back to this pandemic where we're all thrown off. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's forcing us to become fluid.
Yes.
And go with
that flow.
So you were way ahead of.
Oh, I was as
you were way ahead
anything.
of.
I mean, when the pandemic came, yes, of course, it's a health crisis of global proportion, but it has been very comfortable.
Yeah, it's not like throwing you off.
Not throwing me off at all.
So you're also you teach public speaking. You're a business coach, which means that oftentimes you need to push people out of their own comfort zones. And we're talking about comfort zones.
That's right.
When was the last time you were out of your own comfort zone, and how did you handle it?
I was out. That's a very good question. I was out of my comfort zone when I made the decision to join government, and prior to that, I was being coached, because coaches are also coached, so that they also take time to assess them.
Yeah.
And I remember my coach in the UK, Vanessa Williams. Wow. And I was putting bottlenecks. Every path she would try, I'd say no, but you know, I can't. I don't think. I would bring up my kids, my this, my. And when I finally did a few sessions with her, and I cleaned that out, and she said, so. Typical coaching question. If everything in the world was as perfect as it can be, what would you be? And then I remember I said, I'd be a leader. I'd be an influencer. I'd be a public speaker. And then right there, I realized, oh wow, okay.
That's what you're supposed to be.
That's maybe what I want to do. And so when was I last in an environment where I got pushed? It was making that decision to go into government and thinking, this is so not anything I ever thought, wanted. And then I said, but why not? If not me, then who? If not me, then who? So, I had the privilege to join government.
And that was actually, that's one of my questions, you know, from marketing and advertising to a government position. What is your self-talk? What's happening inside the mind of somebody who's gone from that industry to now serving her people?
Yes. Oh, wow. That talk goes on every day, which is the first time I've been in a career where I have to talk myself to stay steady.
Yes.
Why? I came from global private sector to local government. Couldn't be more different.
Oh, completely.
I changed countries, I changed disciplines. But also I realized that it was of its time, that I had collected enough learnings, experiences to qualify. And then the Kenyan constitution was also putting it out there that they want women in leadership. And the Kenyan law has it that all positions must have 30% quota towards women. And and I thought, you know, it was so wild. It was so out of my sphere. But I also had an amazing boss, now my boss, gentleman, Professor Governor Nyang as the one I thought, well, I think with him as my leader, I think I could expand. What he wanted in his manifesto, we had helped shaped when we were running the campaign. I thought, this could be an experience with a gentleman I've admired quietly as a young Kenyan growing up, and thinking, maybe with him there, I can navigate this uncharted territory, and then I went for it. But I remember hesitating, and I remember some great words that he said to me, and I was still, I don't know if can I really live in Kisumu? Can I live in Kenya? Can I do government? Do I know anything about leading government? And when we were having the conversation, where then the decision was made, the decision being that I go and apply to be vetted to be a minister, he said to me that, I want to tell you something. I'll never forget those words, because now I use them to people all the time, to women. The reason women are not in senior leadership roles, whether in the private sector, NGOs, in government, is not because you're not educated, because you are. It's not because you don't have passion, because you have. It's not because you don't have families or have families, because your men equally have the same. The reason you're not in these senior roles is because you don't put yourself out there with confidence. Because when he asked me, I was still dithering. I was still...
as much as you've had the experience and you've taken senior roles around the world.
Around the world.
This was still a bit like,
oh, I'll have to check with my husband. And I remember him saying, if
really?
I offered this position to a male, they would take it and then come home and tell you.
True.
You ladies like to check with them first and then come to tell us that you're taking the job. Doesn't need to be that way. Stand in your light.
And don't be afraid to.
Don't be afraid. And also, when indeed I went to discuss with my spouse then, he was in there. So then it made me realize, oh my God, we just create our own noise. But guys are okay. They also want successful, happy ladies, women, spouses around them. They're pushing their daughters to be that. So
absolutely. Why not their wives?
I
didn't know whether I should ask this question or not. It sounds quite feminist. But because we're talking about the difference between sexes making decisions.
Sure.
Do you have any experience with resistance while you're leading men?
Yes. But then I have experience of resistance from women.
Okay.
And I don't treat any differently.
Okay.
Again, I think after you've been on the planet a little longer and you've done a portfolio of different things in different geographies, in different organizations, you're from a family yourself, you're in a family now, all of that. You've been in different environments. You've got your steely disposition well down by then. And I think to join government at a very young age might be very tough if you're going for senior roles, because you're still finding out who you are.
Right.
And but yes, you do get the resistance. And also government, 70% is male.
Yeah.
So we have a cabinet, of course, and there are 10 of us, 3 ladies, 7 men. Most of the senior team below the ministers are heavily male. And then when you go lower down, then you'll find a lot more women.
Yes.
That will change over time. It's not an indication of only Kisumu, it's government in general, and not just this government in Kenya. I think countries that have really done quite well are people like Rwanda, where from the bottom up, the numbers are 50-50.
Yes.
So, therefore, in my role in leadership, I am predominantly with males. But also you navigate that with elegance, with your femininity. Bring your mind to every conversation and be you. And for goodness sake, speak up and out. That's the biggest difference. You can go to a boardroom and not everybody experiences it.
Yeah.
The ladies won't talk. Or I am holding functions and I am having an audience and men will ask questions and ladies won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always call them out. I do, and I tell ladies, no, this we cannot do. So the younger guys are more twigged onto that, but still you'll find that I think it is our disposition to hang back, but it's changing, and it will change from home going up.
So from home.
From home, when dad and mom are making children talk.
Yes.
It can't be the brother who talks more than the sister. It's, if the sister's cooking, the boy's cooking. If the girl is doing her presentation about her science project, the boy is doing his. You know, let it be that way. And then the balance comes through.
Absolutely.
I think so.
No, I believe that. Well, everything starts from home.
Yeah.
So as a female leader, and to many people who watch this show who are leaders in their own right, what would you tell them that they need in order to continue to have the stamina to lead?
A thick skin. I am often told that by my boss when I'm trying to navigate this government and the resistance is there for one thing or another. It's just a thick skin. Number one. Number two, don't bring your emotion to the office.
Oh.
When you shut the front door of your house, that is where you leave your emotions.
Yeah.
And when you are walking out of your house, you're you and the universe. And all this other stuff that was going on at home and that will come on at lunchtime or in the evening, they will be compartmentalized. Why? Because men do that. That's the way they're raised, I think, and it's in their DNA maybe. They compartmentalize issues. So, I'm here, I'm in the boardroom, I'm dealing with this. The fact that the car is broken has nothing to do with it. I am dealing with this. Then I will deal with the car. I will not do them in parallel. Then I will deal with the family. Then the child needs to be picked up from school. Then mom-in-law isn't well. Those are in boxes. And for us, women, we bring all of it to every event all the time.
Absolutely. But then, you know, we always show off that we're multitaskers. Is that a bad thing?
No, I think it's a great thing. But here's the thing. Men are becoming pretty good at multitasking. Because they've been hearing that they're not good multitaskers.
Yeah, so now they're able to.
They're able to, but they just compartmentalize it. I'm going to do this first, and when I'm done, I'll go into that, and then when I'm done, I'll do that. We want to do it all at the same time. Pick up the call and talk to your client, but at the same time, that the secretary know that the child needs to be picked up from school. No, compartmentalize, but leave the emotions at home. It's something that once you hear it, once you hear that statement, leave your emotions at home, then you can begin to work with it. But if nobody's telling you that that's a game plan for women in senior leadership, you wouldn't know. Leave the emotions at home. Leave home stuff at home. And then bring you. And don't bring you all soft and girly. Just it's work now. So it's, it's battle. It's a war zone. And only the very best will survive.
And I always say you need a strategy.
You need a plan.
No emotion.
Emotion is the thing I think that, I'm not saying that women are lesser than men in any way, because clearly I have no time for that. But I'm saying that how women are generally wired was not to be in the corporate or in the providing for the home space. Long ago, we were the nurturers and the men were the providers. That has changed. But now that you're in the environment to be a provider, then you bring with it the tools for that space, the arsenal for that space. That's what I think.
So anyone who's called a leader, it's not just about a person who's got authority. I think leaders should have the people's loyalty. Leaders should always put their people first. Do you have anyone that comes to mind when I say leader with that description in mind?
I want to say my mum.
Okay.
My mum, as I said, was a CEO of a government organization, a state corporation. She had 6 kids, and she had a husband, and the in-laws, and the relatives, and all of that. And I was in uni, so I would watch how she's trying to balance all of that and keep it together, never losing her femininity. But that's one example, but there's so many, men and women. There are, I would watch how Obama, the president, navigated that job. With eloquence and elegance and content, and with empathy. So for me, there is no real leader that doesn't have empathy. Now, what is empathy? People say, oh, empathy is this, no. Empathy is recognizing that today you walked into your office and your colleague didn't look like they had their A game on. And so empathy is popping by and checking.
Are you all right?
Are you all right? Empathy is knowing that your member of staff has a wife who was due to give birth and talk about it. Like, so how's your wife doing? I know that she's due to have a baby. Or how's your mother-in-law doing? Or whatever it is. That is empathy. Now, with that, then you build loyalty.
Yeah.
Because people feel that you care. And if they feel you care, then they bring more to the job.
Yes.
And also then when you're down, they can also back you up. They don't have to, but you do tend to find that there's care. So I think leadership without empathy, difficult, because you then don't build the loyalty.
Wow.
That's my take. Empathy. Yeah.
Because you're in politics,
Yeah.
or in government, rather.
Government, yes. Scared of the word politics, but it is true.
I'm going to ask you this question. When do you think Kenya will see its first female president? And what is going to be required of that woman, could be you, to be a strong, steadfast leader of this country?
Right. I think, and I've thought about this, as anybody on planet Earth is thinking, like, why don't we have more women leaders?
Yes.
For Kenya, I think the steps were right when they changed the constitution, the one we currently have, where they introduced a quota for women to join. Because you're not going to get that female president unless women are in government and growing through the ranks and recognized. So that's step one. When will it happen? Ooh, I can't say, but it will happen. I think in my lifetime. It will happen. Because we're there, in Kenya particularly. You know, you live in different countries, you see different dynamics. So in Kenya, I see, and I've traveled a lot in African countries. In Kenya, I see women bring it on. They are so much the providers these days. Or they've chosen to provide in partnership with their spouse or boyfriend or whatever it is. So I think that women are honing their skills. They want more. They are leading more, whatever leadership looks like. They are studying. There's, Kenya offers adult learning so much after school, after work.
Yes.
So there's a lot more women in schools, in unis, in colleges. They're diversifying. During the COVID pandemic, I know women were online studying courses. I did one. And diversifying. You know, I did something on photography.
Oh, wow.
Always loved photography. Dad had a camera, mom had a camera. Never did anything about it. So things like that. So I can see that. And then also women are, at least have a say in making smaller families. So they can have the children and then get back on
with the career.
Career. Yeah, I think it will happen in my lifetime. I hope it does, because there's nothing unusual that she would bring that a man isn't bringing. But let's see. Are men ready for it? Is probably the million-dollar question, because also men need to change their mindset, or some are, but I think there's still a lot of resistance to women leading, to women being ahead. Look at Achie checking with hubby whether I should take a job.
Yes.
You know, that obviously means, even as women, we're not quite there, but men also need to just be okay with being led by anybody. Because you're raising daughters. These very men are raising daughters, and raising these daughters into excellence and to excel. And they're telling their daughters anything a boy can do, a girl can do. But how come it's stopping at a certain point, like leading a country or leading an organization? So I'm really grateful that we have a constitution that factors me in as a female. And now the real other challenge is women backing women. Yeah. And that gap I see is still very prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, you invited me to your show and I had admired you through the years living abroad. And so I was like, yeah, that's an example of a woman backing another woman.
Yeah.
And the more we do it, the more we showcase other ladies, then again we're equipping a good pool of women to go into senior leadership, into government, into presidency of country, of organizations. Yeah, I think a little bit of work to do, but we're on the track. You know? We're on it. There's a path and people are on it, and they can see that they want it. That's my take. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, when you live in different countries, you see it differently. I lived in Holland for 10 years. So in Holland, again, very much a parallel system. There are men and there are women, and we're both going for the same thing.
Yes.
And I see it in their laws. They demand that wives keep their fathers' names when they get married, things like that. So the Netherlands has a very high expatriate population, one of the world's largest. Let's talk about specifically in The Hague, otherwise called Den Haag. So they recognize that they've got all these organizations in The Hague, Unilever, Shell, all the embassies, the ICJ, the courts,
yes.
and all of this. In The Hague, 80% of the people living in The Hague are foreigners and 20 are Dutch. So
wow.
they recognize that they were, apparently way back in the 60s, they recognized that why will people come to Holland? It's cold, it's a small country,
yes.
tucked away. So they created all these expatriate offers, which meant that you're taxed less
yes.
and things like that. So there's huge tax incentives. When I was there, you only taxed 30% of your job,
okay.
of your salary. So all these companies would come in. But mostly by then there were men who would be the expat, and then their spouses were called trailing spouses, a phrase I do not like. Now the trailing spouses are educated, they've got degrees and whatever, and what are you doing with them? They can't be housewives. And so they set up an organization that I then ran as well in Holland. It's called the International Women's Contact, The Hague. This was the largest expatriate organization or club or association
wow.
for expatriate spouses. So that while your spouse, the male, is working, you don't lose your qualifications and your experience.
Yes.
So you're also given opportunities to work in charities around the world. So I saw in Holland much more balance of men and women
yeah.
being put out. And in other countries that I've lived in, also not so much a balance. Mm-hmm. But Kenya, we're on the path. I think so. I feel it. I'm working in it, so I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But women have to back each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Are you ever going to write a book? You're such a fascinating person.
I am going to write a book, inshallah. I'm going to write a book.
Great.
I've discovered I am, in my family of 4, my daughter has written a book, my husband has written a book, so I'm next in line, but my son looks like he's on the path. But I will write a book.
Yes.
I don't know what I'll call it, but this Kenyan girl who then goes on to run organizations in the world and then comes back into government and somehow is as a wife, a mother, and all these things that women are. And where,
I think, I think we'd all buy that book because we can learn so much from your experience.
And I think it touches on many parts of who women are.
Absolutely.
And also men would be curious.
Yes.
Because I will put it in such a way that men are like, is that what my wife or spouse or daughter is
when we
thinking
call this
about?
show What Women Want, we got a lot of,
exactly.
Oh, so does that mean men can't watch it? No, I say men who watch the show know what women want.
What women want. And then you're ahead of the game.
Then you're ahead of the game, and that's always the trick.
That's the trick.
Make sure you subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And remember, with YouTube, you can... all you have to do is press on your phone *544# OK and reply with 0, and you get 200 MB of YouTube for just 20 bob from Safaricom. And I want to say thank you to SBM Bank because they are always thinking of you, their client. Did you know that they have an extremely active women market that was set up to educate, empower, and protect the overall financial status of their women clientele? For your chance to win, head over to our Instagram page or my public Facebook page and subscribe to our newsletter. And you could be the winner of a brand new phone courtesy of Safaricom. Achie and I would love to hear from you. Make sure you put in a comment. Let us know what resonated with you. Let us know. Give us some suggestions for a book title.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I can get cracking.
Achie, thank you so much. You're an amazing person. I'm so happy to have spent time with you. I'm so happy to, for you to have been able to just talk so openly.
Yeah.
And
thank you
for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No, of course.
A woman backing a woman. And
yes.
Yeah, what women want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On this show, we have conversations that aim to inspire, and we hope that this causes you to take a deep dive into yourself and find out who you are. Real power is always internal. Real power is self-love. Real power is from your core, and real power comes from authenticity. There's nothing like showing up as your authentic self, and make sure you become that person every day. The world will thank you for it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again real soon on Pinky TV.